Hello, everyone. You are watching the Asian American Herald, a new media network. This show is being aired via live stream on Facebook, and a recording will be available afterwards at our Facebook page, Asian American Herald. My name is Himani Gupta Carlson, and I'm a professor at Empire State College in Saratoga Springs, New York, as well as a community-based farmer and writer. I want to open our show tonight first by offering respect to the Haudenosaunee, people of the Longhouse, who are the original caretakers of much of upstate New York, where the Asian American Herald is based. In offering this respect, I also acknowledge myself as a settler. And as a member of the worldwide Indian diaspora, I thank the Haudenosaunee for providing me shelter on their land. And so our guest tonight is also a part of the Indian diaspora, and last week won an international award for his contributions to the diaspora. Ash Anand, who is originally from the Bengal region of India, is a businessman in Warrensburg, New York. He is the chief executive officer and president of the Lotus Group, which is a conglomerate of several companies that provide everyday services. Mr. Anand started the business in 2009. Last week, he was named the Global Indian of the Year by Asia One, a news site based out of Singapore. Mr. Anand, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And I have to say that I study, the Indian diaspora. That's part of my research interest, and I feel like your award, the space from where that award is coming from, and your business really, really give us they really exemplify the breadth of that diaspora in so many ways. So I kind of actually wanted to start by talking about a quote I found from a story that ran in the Glens Falls Chronicle about 5 years ago. Excuse me. And in that story, you stated that Lotus can file your taxes, watch your kids, fix your car, feed you dinner, cut your dog's hair, provide housing, heat your house, and give you a ride to Glens Falls. Excuse me, my dry throat. That's pretty amazing. And I was wondering if you could just start maybe by telling our viewers a little bit about Lotus from that perspective. And while you're doing that, I'm going to take myself out of the stream for a second and grab a glass of water.
No worries at all. And thanks for pointing that out. It's I shall remember that quote. It's been, I think, more than 5 years now. We still believe in that whole philosophy of doing as much as we can and doing more for the community. Back in the day, we were in that growth mode where we wanted to fill all the voids that were available in our community that people were struggling with, and we tried to fill all those gaps, whether it was opening a couple of restaurants where we talk about feeding people, an auto garage about fixing cars, the first daycare professionally run in the area. So the concept started with the investment in the community, and that sort of grew and took shape very quickly, where we saw a bigger need. Every time we put an initiative, there were more people like, hey, can you do this for us? And that became sort of a dictating ground in terms of people need help. People want things that were missing, and we were more than excited to be able to fill the voids.
That's really cool. And what I think is amazing about that is that these are not grandiose businesses. These are not complex IT systems or anything like that. These are like everyday mom and pop businesses, yet they're run by an Indian immigrant. And I'm just kind of curious then, if you could tell us a little bit about your background. Where and when did you grow up in Bengal? What were the circumstances through which you left? And how did you ultimately land in Warrensburg?
It's a long story, of course. I'm not young anymore.
Plenty of time.
But it's been quite a journey. I belong to a very poor family. We grew up in West Bengal, in Kolkata. Had the luxury to be able to meet Mother Teresa a few times. So, I would never forget those moments. Um, Everything that I can tell you where I am and who I am is especially because of my parents, my family. It's the upbringing, the solid foundation they laid for me in terms of morals and principles. It was never easy growing up, which I think became a driving force into believing that this is not how the rest of the life is going to be. This is not how my kids are going to see it. So that became motivation, and things started with the whole thought process being, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to do it right the first time. And as I had kids, that motivation got bigger because I wanted to lead by example. So we've had some rough days. I've seen some very troubling days where my parents were not able to send me to college. It was a decision that I had to make and fight my parents, leave home without their consent. And even though it wasn't easy, I made a decision that even if I had to do 3 part-time jobs to be able to pay for my college, I would do that. I did that in Bangalore, in the southern part of India. And I remember days where I've had to make a decision that I had enough money in my pocket if I were to, eat dinner or save it for the following day. So that, I think, was the foundation of success, which led me to where I am. I've been here for about 17, going into 18 years now. And I started my business about 11 years ago, and every single day we come with a fresh mind. We do something different. We do things to make a difference to the community, to people, to friends around us, and to be able to do something good. So everything started from your parents, all the struggles that we've been through, and try to make it different every day.
Yeah. What did your parents do for a living?
My dad has done quite a few things in life. He's retired now. He's been a miner. He used to do copper mining when I was very little. He was into construction and transportation, and then towards the end of his career, he was a fan manufacturer. So he's been a businessman all his life. My mom was a homemaker, and so I got a little bit of the best of the worlds from both of them into becoming a successful human being, which I think is the most critical element of who I am.
Yeah. Were they pleased when you made the decision to go to college, even though they were fighting you or you had to
Um,
fight them?
it was a typical scenario where my dad was very upset. He wouldn't talk to me while my mother would support me in every possible way. So I think there's always the dynamic that plays in well in your success growth factors.
Yeah. So interesting. That's so much like my father's story. And of course, my father, the historic time span was quite a bit earlier because my father was born in 1932. But yeah, his father didn't want him to leave the village, but his brother really pushed and said, he should go, he should be educated. And, he, and that's kind of the way the story went.
There's always a driving force behind everyone.
Yeah. So I often also think, maybe especially for immigrants, we don't always get to choose where we live. We sort of go where places choose us. We go where the job takes us, where the university takes us, or where some other reason takes us. And we land in places that we have no clue what they are. And so I'm wondering about your story of landing in Warrensburg. Um, did you choose Warrensburg or did Warrensburg choose you, and what were the circumstances?
Well, let me start off by saying that I do not enjoy the cold. I don't. I don't mind the snow. I just don't like the chilly weather. So even though I spent 15 years in this area, I still complain about it every year. So it was a very tough decision that I had to make and choose between two places. One was North Country, which is here, Warrensburg, and the other was Orange County, California.
Oh my.
Yeah, so you can imagine it wasn't an easy decision. And I'll tell you a very quick story of what actually drove me here away from California. We had choices to make. I had a house where I used to live in California, and we had a house here as well in Warrensburg. My work was based out of California, and the family would live here. we were just about in that decision-making process as to what is going to be home for our kids. And I still remember a story where in our house in California, our front yard was extremely tiny, maybe like a 20 by 20 or 20 by 15, tiny front yard. One afternoon, I was at work, and my wife decided to get the lawnmower out and mow the lawn. And it was a matter of 45 minutes after she had done mowing the lawn, which may have taken her maybe 15 minutes. She had 5 neighbors come over with business cards of their landscaping companies and said, "You shouldn't be doing this. You should be sitting with me drinking wine and having cheese while they do this." Uh,
Mm.
I think that was a driving force. I think that was a decision-making factor where I did not want my kids to grow up in that kind of an environment. I'm a very family-oriented person. I like my privacy. I like my family time. They are extremely important to me. And that's when I realized that, okay, living in a smaller town may have its pitfalls, but I think it's wonderful. And my wife happens to be from the area, Johnstown, which is about half hour from Saratoga. So it was not a very difficult decision to then think, okay, is this the right place? And that's how we landed up here.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's kind of it's very telling in a lot of ways. That we are kind of drawn to the small towns because of the family, the privacy, the kind of relative freedom of movement that we have in some ways.
Sure.
Yeah, but for some of our viewers who are not from the capital region of New York, you might not actually know where Warrensburg is. So let me describe it a little bit, though I'm sure Ash, you could describe it much better. It's a town in the Adirondacks. It's a very, very beautiful area. It's kind of on the pathway to a lot of pristine hiking and wonderful outdoor life. And it's one that draws a lot of tourism and has had some issues in recent years with racism. It's a predominantly white community, and there have been some reports of tourists of color who've been refused service and they faced racial taunts. And there has been a lot of concerted community effort to deal with that. And, I'm wondering from your perspective, what has been your experience, and what do you think your presence as a very civically engaged and successful businessman can do to kind of alleviate some of those tensions?
Well, thanks for bringing that up. I've had my fair share of what you described, and unfortunately, I can say that it's still not over. I don't think this is going to disappear overnight, as much as we want to. Within the last year, all the movements we have seen, everything that we have seen around us happening has only opened more eyes. One of the decisions that you know to keep moving forward was resistance, right? We can't let people do what they think is okay, because somebody has to stand up, somebody has to fight back. And the whole idea was, if I don't be a leader, if I don't be an example, others wouldn't. So that, I think, opened up doors for me to be a bigger force in terms of joining the school board, where I can have my voice heard. I'm more active in the community because I wanted to do things that people know me, and it's not just about the person of color, but see the heart behind everything that goes on. What am I capable of? What am I doing? I mean, not every business I built was for myself or success. There were a lot of things we did for the community, and I think that what opened up a lot of the mindsets. And we have to keep going at it. It's not going to happen on its own. The efforts we put in are what's going to change that tomorrow.
Yeah. I appreciate the name lotus so much because, a lotus is a flower with so many petals, and there's so many opportunities that kind of can grow out of the flower in a sense. I'm wondering if you can talk to us about how broad and diverse the company is. As I was looking up articles, every year it seemed like something had changed or things had gotten bigger. So I'm wondering, just give us a sense of the breadth of it.
We started in 2009, 2010, with a very small thought process of Lotus Analytics being a consulting company, just using my education, my skill sets to, spread the word in terms of how to make processes better. And, as I mentioned earlier, the idea was to invest in the community, which then turned into investing in our people, as we started growing. Then we saw the missing pieces within the community and the needs people had. So it sort of opened the doors in terms of what else can we do? What are the needs? And then again, if you want to do it with the right heart and with the right mindset to solve a problem, and that's how it started. So over the years, I think over the decade now, we have acquired about 7 businesses. We have started about 6 of them fresh. And then today, in a very rough idea, our biggest business being our technology firm, where we do, you know, I wouldn't just say software development, but it is a lot more than that. It is custom solutions to any problems out in the world today. We have an accounting firm. We have a few restaurants now. We have a hotel. We do construction. We have done very well with historical restorations, where we acquired a lot of historical properties, truly historical, and given them good shape. That seems to be a good passion of ours. Um, there are many other facets to the business. So today, where we are, we have globally around 400 people that work for us. We have over 100 people that we employ within this area. And, over the last 30 days, we have acquired another new business that is being worked on right now for opening next month. We have a few other plans in mind that I think 2021 is going to be a bigger year. And I should say, the best year yet as we plan for it now. So we're definitely not a large enterprise, but also not a small business, where we have done a lot with a very talented set of people that we have.
And they are, I just have to say, they just are very cool kinds of businesses. They're not, they are the places that people frequent on an everyday basis. And I'm wondering, do you have, is there a favorite one of these businesses for you?
Now, that's a tricky one. You
Don't
know,
have,
uh,
don't worry.
when I'm hungry, the restaurants are my favorites.
Yeah,
But you know what? The fun part is you get to deal with so many different things. You get to deal with so many different kinds of people. You get to manage different processes. That's what makes it fun. So I cannot call any one of them a favorite, but they all have their strengths in their own ways.
yeah,
There are some businesses that I really don't know much about, and that's why we have the talented set of people who run that for us. But it's good to know that there is so much excitement that drives me crazy in the morning, where how am I going to make a difference today, right? Somewhere I will. And I think that's the real cool facet of coming to work with energy every morning, and then being busy all day without knowing where time goes.
yeah. I was going to ask you what a typical day was like, and I suppose you can start by saying there's no such thing as a typical day, but maybe
No.
give me a day.
there, 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 there are no 2 days that are the same, because there is so much happening every day, and the fun part is, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon we could be discussing a menu item, and at 2:30 we could be discussing auto parts, and what's changing in the world. And at 4 o'clock we could be discussing a new software program that we are developing. So again, that's the excitement that we have. And a lot of our people are cross-trained, because there are people who came here as a chef and now know a lot more about technology than they ever did, because there is so much to learn. There are people who have actually come to us and said, we would like to learn a new different kind of business, and we have the platform, so why not? We encourage people to learn different kinds of businesses. We encourage kids to actually get involved in different parts of a business, to understand every nitty gritty of how everything runs. A lot of people don't see it as a machine. It's like, okay, you own a business, great, but there are so many different parts of the business that make it exciting, and that's what drives our daily life. And I can't think of a typical routine to be described ever.
Do you have any downtime ever?
The downtime is when I'm driving to work and I'm driving back home.
Okay.
um, and I said, I'm a family person. I'm a very private person that way. I love to spend time with my kids when I get back after work, and the weekends are typically my family time, and that's what I like to enjoy the most with them. Try not to do as much work, and again, that makes it possible with the kind of people we have. So the stress level stays with them, and you have really the free time that you need to be able to re-energize for the following week.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. How old are your kids?
Um, I have and they're all in transition mode right now for the year change, but I have a 14-year-old daughter. I have a 12-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old son, and a 3-month-old daughter as well.
Wow. Okay. So that must be interesting having kind of like close to teenagers and then a baby.
Well, I mean, I wasn't ready to have all grown up kids, but I can't have that little baby time. So, and again, I didn't want to be called or looked at as an old man. So, maybe this will help.
That's funny. That's really interesting. So, the other thing that strikes me though is that some of the businesses that you operate are the kinds of businesses that might have been hit hard by COVID, but at the same time, you've got such a diverse array that maybe there's been some offsets. So I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit about the impact of the pandemic and how you've been handling it, and just kind of what kinds of issues faces a faceted organization like yours when we have this kind of a crisis.
Sure. And, I wouldn't call myself an exception. We are dealing with the same things everybody else has been. And, it is sad to see all the deaths around us. And, when you hear about that in television every day, those apart, I think the small business community in general has taken a big hit. And a lot of people would not be able to recover from it. I would say we are blessed. Um, you know, we have been we have dealt with a lot of stress with a lot of ease, again because we had the luxury of moving people around and the support of multiple businesses where we wouldn't let any one business go down because we had other places for them to settle in. And again, a lot of cohesive effort from the whole team. Again, it's not over yet. It hasn't been easy. I don't think it's going to get over soon, but I think with everything that we have going on drives us to do more and better. A perfect example of this would be, one of our restaurants caught fire in November,
How
and
that, yeah.
it was disheartening. And as much as it hurts to talk about it, um, but that drove us to actually, acquire a new business. And instead of just acquiring a restaurant, now we have acquired a restaurant, a hotel, and a wedding venue. So, why are we struggling with employment if I have an opportunity to bring more employees on board and be able to help the community in a better way? So I think, again, it's about looking at the positives in the most negative times is what has kept us going.
Okay, that's very good and really good experience. You did allude to some of your civic involvement, such as the school board earlier, but I'm wondering if you could just speak a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, it's been a while. We did launch a campaign a lot of years ago, which was called Lotus Loves Literacy. That was around, the promotion of the importance of education and literacy around everywhere, we go, because in today's world, we struggle with kids who are not able to have the confidence level or don't think education is important. So it was more about, how to be confident in life, how to go out and do things. And so that was a big success. We did poetry slams where, we were getting kids involved. We did some spelling bees and some, different kind of contests where, kids of different age groups had opportunities to come out and express themselves, be themselves, and make a mark. Um, I have been a school board member for probably about 9, 10 years now. I'm also a board member for the Washington, Warren, and Saratoga County Workforce Development Group.
Oh, okay.
Um, and again, that's all about how to economically drive the community better. There is so much more need today. So I'm also a member for the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce. I have had several opportunities to speak at the SUNY organization. um, you know so again, it's I feel like if I have certain things that I can share with, I should. That's the only way I can share my feelings, things that I've gone through, and what people should learn from an experience like this.
Yeah. Awesome. So what kind of next steps do you see for Lotus and for yourself?
I don't know about myself. I think it's I do a lot of these today for my kids to get a lesson out of this, learn. Life is never going to be easy. You have to work hard, and all those good things. But for Lotus, I think because of the significance of the meaning of the word lotus or the flower, depending on where it grows and how beautiful it comes out to be. And, there is a different meaning to it. There is a different motivation factor to it. So, a few things that we have in mind that I would like to do in the near future. One of them is some kind of an arrangement for senior care. Has been in my mind for a lot of years. We have made several attempts with it. Haven't been successful yet because we've been so busy. But that's one thing I would like to revisit this year, hopefully next year at the most. And then the other thing that we are very actively pursuing right now would be some kind of a center for prevention for opioid crisis. And that's been a very, hard hitting point for me, especially with the world today where we are seeing, people go the wrong direction. And if I can, do something to help. So the two big things in our radar right now are opioid crisis and senior living and senior care.
Okay. And I have to just ask because you mentioned poetry slams, and I am kind of in some ways, a follower of hip hop. I have to say, there's a lot of kind of spirit of hip hop that I see in the way that your life and your businesses have developed. And I'm wondering, do you engage with hip hop, or is that a part of your life at all?
Not really. I would be a part of it when my family's involved, but voluntarily, not me.
Not you.
It's always, it's like go along with the family kind of a mode where, if they're into something, I enjoy it. But, maybe one day when I'm not as busy, I would enjoy those things more and better.
Okay, so you didn't grow up with Punjabi Bhangra or Desi rap or any of this?
No, not really. We had our moments, and people make fun of me in a lot of different ways. And people ask me, okay, who's your favorite singer? And not from today, all time, and there are not too many people that know the answer, but I'll voluntarily say it. My favorite singer growing up was Bryan Adams, and I still am a big fan. I don't think you can just take that away. When it comes to a female artist, I think one of the ones that I love the most, even today, is Shania Twain. So, there is no correlation per se, because she's a country singer, and Bryan Adams is sort of a little different. But that's the kind of music we grew up with, and it just settles with you.
Yeah. So Global Indian of the Year, what does that mean to you?
A very proud moment. I think more than me, just very excited to feel and maybe feel the emotions of how my parents felt. That's what makes me proud. Seeing the look on my wife's face and my kids' face when they read it, is what the defining moment was. So I feel like the stakes are high. There is more pressure on me than ever was, and I think I need to prove a point that I will live up to the expectations of why they chose me.
Yeah. And so you're representing all of us out there. Good
Well,
luck.
and that's what I'm saying. The pressure is on, and I feel it, and I would like to say I promise I won't let anybody down. For all the panelists who chose us and did the right thing in terms of picking me among all the other talented people. So, I'm very thankful for him.
All right. And then on that note, we are actually out of time. So I just wanted to thank everyone who joined us this evening for our weekly Asian American Herald show. And once again, I'm Himani Gupta Carlson. I've been speaking with Ash Anand, Global Indian of the Year and very successful businessman. The Asian American Herald is a Facebook-based news media outlet dedicated to discussing topics and building community among Asian Americans in the capital region of New York and beyond. So please send us your story ideas and look for the recording of this show on our Facebook page. Have a good evening. See you all again next Thursday. And thank you very much, Mr. Anand.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure.